It started like any other Sunday morning. I was just out for a quick drive in my Mustang, enjoying the quiet streets and the rumble of the engine when I pulled into my own driveway. Yes, my driveway, only to be met with the sharp glare of someone who clearly wasn't expecting me to live in this neighborhood. That someone, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, better known around here as Karen. And standing next to her was her teenage son, arms crossed, clearly annoyed, clearly entitled, and unfortunately completely unaware of who I really was. I hadn't even turned off the engine when the boy marched up, tapped on my window, and said, "Nice car. You should let me take it for a spin." I laughed it off at first, thinking it was some kind of weird joke. But he wasn't joking. His mother soon joined in, waving her HOA badge like it had the power of the law, telling me I didn't belong here and threatening to call the police. Apparently, according to them, I looked suspicious. They said my car was too flashy, too loud, too not like what someone around here should be driving. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just stepped out of the car and waited. 10 minutes later, a patrol car pulled into the neighborhood. Karen folded her arms triumphantly, ready to watch me be dragged off. Her son smirked like he'd just scored a win. What they didn't know, and we're about to find out in the most unforgettable way, was that I'm not just another neighbor with a nice car. I'm the chief of police, and this neighborhood drama was about to take a turn they never saw coming. As the patrol car rolled to a stop, Karen stood taller, her arms crossed like she was about to receive a trophy. Her son took a step back, smug grin still on his face, probably thinking his little stunt was about to get me put in my place. Meanwhile, I stayed calm, watching the officer step out. It was Officer Daniels, one of my newer recruits, young, sharp, and still learning the ropes. I saw the flicker of recognition in his eyes the second he saw me, but he kept it professional, waiting to see how I wanted to play it. Karen wasted no time. She stormed over, pointing at me like I was some criminal off the street. "That man is trespassing," she barked. "He's been driving around here like he owns the place, and now he's parked in a resident's driveway." I almost laughed, but I held it in. This wasn't about humor anymore. It was about how quickly people jump to conclusions, how they let appearances and assumptions twist reality. My Mustang, the tan on my skin, my quiet confidence at all, triggered something in them. They didn't recognize me, and that made me suspicious in their eyes. Her son chimed in again, louder this time. He refused to let me drive his car. He got aggressive. Officer Daniels glanced at me, clearly uncomfortable now. Realizing just how upside down this situation really was, I still hadn't said a word. Not because I didn't want to, but because I wanted them to keep going. Let them reveal exactly who they were without any prompting. Karen leaned in and hissed under her breath, "People like you don't belong in this neighborhood." That's when I knew this wasn't just about a car. It was personal for them, and they still had no clue who I was. Officer Daniels looked back and forth between Karen, her son, and me, clearly caught in the middle of something bigger than a simple neighborhood dispute. I could tell he was trying to piece together the real story. But with the limited information and Karen's pointed accusations, it wasn't easy. The tension in the air was thick, like everyone was waiting for an explosion that wasn't quite ready to happen. Karen's son, still standing with that arrogant smirk, started complaining about how the Mustang didn't fit in around here. His words were laced with a tone that wasn't just about a car. It was about who belongs and who doesn't. I could see the roots of this conflict digging deep into the neighborhood's unspoken rules, the invisible lines drawn by the HOA, and the kind of people they wanted to accept. Their version of community was clearly narrow, and I was standing right outside their definition. Meanwhile, few neighbors had gathered quietly nearby, whispering among themselves. Some looked curious, others uneasy, maybe even a bit suspicious of the drama unfolding. No one stepped in yet, but I knew this moment was about to shift the whole neighborhood's view, whether they wanted it to or not. There was also the subtext. A power hierarchos grip on this place, the way they used rules and authority to control what they saw as disorder. And then there was me, someone who not only didn't fit their mold, but also happened to be the chief of police. The irony was thick, but I kept it hidden beneath my calm exterior as Karen raised her voice again. Demanding I prove my residency and questioning my right to be here, I felt the weight of all this come crashing down. This wasn't just about a car or a driveway anymore. It was a clash of identity, respect, and control. And somewhere beneath it all, the real question remained: how far would they go once they found out who I truly was? Karen's voice grew louder, sharp as a whip, calling me out in front of everyone. "You're not who you say you are. You're just trying to scare us with that badge," she sneered. Her son echoed her, stepping closer, eyes blazing with a mixture of anger and entitlement. "Yeah, what kind of police chief drives a Mustang like that? Sounds like a joke to me." I could feel the eyes of the neighbors shifting, some doubtful, others silently judging. The tension was building like a storm about to break. Officer Daniels kept glancing at me, waiting for me to step in and explain, but I held back. Let them talk. Let them think they had the upper hand. Then came the quiet moment, the one before everything exploded. Karen suddenly pulled out her phone, fingers trembling as she dialed 911. Insisting they needed backup, that there was an unauthorized person causing trouble in the neighborhood. Her son stood beside her, smirking like he already won, convinced that the law was on their side. But here's the thing, no one knew the truth behind that call. No one knew that I wasn't just any neighbor. I was the chief of police, the person who actually had authority over calls like this. I was the one who'd be deciding if this situation escalated or calmed down. The sound of sirens grew closer, and my heart pounded. The neighbors started whispering louder, some pulling out their phones, recording. Karen's eyes locked onto mine, full of defiance. Her son was ready to claim victory, convinced I was about to get in serious trouble. The air was thick with anticipation. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Would I prove who I really was? Would Karen's prejudice finally meet reality? Or would this simmering conflict tear the neighborhood apart? The moment had arrived, and no one could predict how it would end. Karen's voice grew louder, sharp as a whip, calling me out in front of everyone. "You're not who you say you are. You're just trying to scare us with that badge," she sneered. Her son echoed her, stepping closer, eyes blazing with a mixture of anger and entitlement. "Yeah, what kind of police chief drives a Mustang like that? Sounds like a joke to me." I could feel the eyes of the neighbors shifting, some doubtful, others silently judging. The tension was building like a storm about to break. Officer Daniels kept glancing at me, waiting for me to step in and explain, but I held back. Let them talk. Let them think they had the upper hand. Then came the quiet moment, the one before everything exploded. Karen suddenly pulled out her phone, fingers trembling as she dialed 911. Insisting they needed backup, that there was an unauthorized person causing trouble in the neighborhood. Her son stood beside her, smirking like he already won, convinced that the law was on their side. But here's the thing, no one knew the truth behind that call. No one knew that I wasn't just any neighbor. I was the chief of police, the person who actually had authority over calls like this. I was the one who'd be deciding if this situation escalated or calmed down. The sound of sirens grew closer, and my heart pounded. The neighbors started whispering louder, some pulling out their phones, recording. Karen's eyes locked onto mine, full of defiance. Her son was ready to claim victory, convinced I was about to get in serious trouble. The air was thick with anticipation. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Would I prove who I really was? Would Karen's prejudice finally meet reality? Or would this simmering conflict tear the neighborhood apart? The moment had arrived, and no one could predict how it would end. Just as the sirens grew louder, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my badge knot to boast, but to end the guessing game once and for all. Before I could say a word, Karen's son suddenly stepped forward, his expression shifting from smug to something darker. "You think your badge means everything," he spat. "You don't scare me. My family's been running things here long before you showed up." His words carried an edge, a warning I hadn't expected. That's when the second twist hit the neighborhood like a thunderclap. Another car pulled up, this one, not a patrol car, but a sleek black SUV, tinted so dark it swallowed the sunlight. Out stepped a man I recognized immediately. The HOA president, a man who had built his influence quietly over years, and someone rumored to have connections that ran deeper than most residents realized. The moment he appeared, the energy shifted. Karen straightened, her confidence renewed as if backed by an invisible force. The president exchanged a few low words with Karen and her son, nodding slowly. It was clear this wasn't just a petty dispute anymore. 'Twas bigger, far bigger. The neighbors watching began to murmur, sensing the change. What started as a simple Karen versus Mustang owner drama was revealing layers of power struggles, old grudges, and hidden alliances within the community. The stakes weren't just about a driveway or a flashy car anymore. They were about control, influence, and who really had the authority to decide who belonged. I felt the weight of it all settle on my shoulders. Being chief of police meant more than just enforcing laws. It meant navigating these kinds of tangled conflicts. But this time, I was in their territory, surrounded by people who didn't want me here and were willing to fight to keep it that way. The question now wasn't just about my Mustang or my identity. It was about how far this neighborhood's darkest secrets would go to keep me out. The tension reached a boiling point as the HOA president stood beside Karen, both radiating confidence like they controlled the entire neighborhood. But I stepped forward, calm and steady, and finally broke the silence. "You all need to listen," I said, my voice carrying the weight of my position. "I'm not just a neighbor. I'm the chief of police. And I'm here to make sure this community is safe and fair for everyone, not just for those who think they own it." The crowd fell silent, eyes flickering between me and the HOA leaders. Karen's son sneered, but didn't interrupt. The president shifted uncomfortably, sensing the ground slipping beneath his feet. I pulled out my phone and showed everyone the official paperwork proving my residency and my role with the police department. The proof was clear, and the reality hit harder than any argument. I explained calmly how accusations like theirs, based on assumptions and prejudice only, tore communities apart. I reminded them that the law protects every resident equally, no matter their background or the car they drive. Officer Daniel stepped forward, backing up what I said, making it clear the department would not tolerate discrimination or harassment. Karen's son suddenly lowered his eyes, and Karen herself looked away, defeated. The HOA president muttered under his breath but said nothing more. The neighbors, who had been on edge, started nodding, some even thanking me quietly for standing up. Just as it seemed the storm had passed, my phone buzzed. A new message popped up, a photo sent anonymously, showing a car parked suspiciously near the neighborhood entrance with a note, "This isn't over." I looked up, locking eyes with Karen. She smiled faintly. But there was something different now, respect mixed with warning. The battle for this neighborhood was far from finished, but now everyone knew who was really in charge, and that's when the real game began.